All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another podcast. I have another great guest, Alex Clark. He's out of Maryland. His company is AJC Home Buyers, and he started investing in real estate in 2023, so relatively new. And his focus is on wholesaling. So, welcome to the podcast, Alex. Great to have you on.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I always like to ask everyone, like, how did you get started in real estate investing? I mean, it's always interesting to hear this because no one really grows up to be a real estate investor, not many people. So people kind of naturally like find out about real estate investing some way and then like kind of flow or have always have a cool story or journey into that. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I never saw myself doing real estate when I was younger. So I thought there was too many people doing it. I didn't like, and come to find out there's really room for everyone. There's always deals out there. But I always thought there was just too many people who wanted to do it. But turns out I think that's actually the best way to do it. I got started in 2023. My one friend, his name's Andrew. He was looking into it and he told me about it. And then he kind of started to get into it a little bit. And then he just kind of demonstrated to me or told me exactly what wholesaling, because I didn't even know what wholesaling was. And he kind of demonstrated and told me what wholesaling was. And I was like, I mean, man, that's interesting. And so it kind of just went from there, kind of just got right into it. And I mean, it's been well worth it for sure.
That's awesome. What were you doing beforehand? Were you in school? Were you out of school? Were you working?
So before I started wholesaling, well, once I graduated high school, I went to this trade school for like a month, and I was like, no, this isn't it. Like, it's got to get better than this. And then, and then I started selling. I was a floor salesman after that. I would like travel around like Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, and like sell floors. And then that kind of felt it was going really well actually, but then that kind of ended up falling through. And then very shortly after that is when I had known Andrew since we were like 13, but I got back in contact with him, and that's when wholesaling started.
Wow, that's
Like
cool, man.
I'm only 20 right now. I was like 18 at the time.
Oh my God, you are everybody's dream. I think that's one big thing, for myself and many other people that are older. It's like, man, I wish we got into real estate younger. So
Yeah.
good for you for starting out early on. And that's amazing that you have a friend that kind of kickstarted that interest.
Hmm.
And it is cool. Once you get into real estate, you're like, oh my God, there's so many facets and ways people make money in real estate. It's mind-boggling just at how many opportunities there are and how you can create deals
Yeah.
throughout. So awesome, man. So you got started in 2023, and tell us about like how you actually got started. Like, what were the first steps? How did you find your first deal? What did you have to do? How long did it take?
Yeah, so originally I just started cold calling, and well, I did that along with I also sent out a batch of postcards, and I got so my it's a funny story. My first three deals that I ever got actually all fell through, which was definitely demoralizing and deflating. But I
How
ended
did they fall through? What aspects? Was it on the buy side or when you were going to sell, the seller couldn't perform?
yeah, so
Sorry,
all
the
three
buyer couldn't perform.
So all three were kind of different. The first one, so I got the seller signed, then got the buyer signed, and then like everything's at the title company, and then the sellers all of a sudden they don't want to sell anymore, and there's really not much I can do about that. You try and convince them, but they ended up being they didn't sign any closing documents. They didn't want to sell anymore. So that one fell through. And then the second one, pretty much the same thing happened. I got the seller and buyer signed, sent everything to title. Then the seller actually comes back to me and tells me he actually like found another buyer who was willing to offer more money, and I couldn't match that offer and still make an assignment fee. So that one fell through. And then the third one, the seller ended up having, goodness, I still cringe even saying it, a $65,000 lien on their property for not paying their mortgage for like 3 or 4 years, we found
Mm.
out. once we sent everything to title, and I also had the buyer. So that was a rough start. And then after that, I got my first deal in, I think, November of last year. I got my second deal in November of last year, and I also got my third deal in November of last year.
Wow,
So I got three in November.
that's amazing.
Yeah, which was definitely a kickstart for sure.
So when did you start in 2023? Give us just a little bit of a timeline. Like when did you get started? When did you get those three deals kind of under contract? And then November you got your first, second, and third deal.
Oh, geez, it was like June when I got the first one. May or
And when
June.
did you start marketing for deals?
Oh, May.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's a very quick turnaround.
yeah,
That's,
but but obviously they ended up going through. But it was May,
yeah,
April or May when I started marketing, and then I got the deal signed late May, early June. That
yeah.
one fell through like late June, early July. And I got the second deal in July. It fell through in August. Got the third deal in August. It fell through in September.
Yeah.
And then I got the fourth deal, or the first one that actually closed. I got all three, the three of them. I got all three of those November, closed them in November. And yeah,
So
that's
the, you
how it
you came
started.
out of the gates and you were relatively consistent with getting deals anyways that you locked up. Yes, they didn't go through, but still locking deals up and finding an end buyer for your deals. You were pretty consistent right out of the gate. That's really impressive. I know it took me like 6 months before I got my first deal. So for you to come right out, that's amazing. Like what worked? Got you those deals? Was it the cold calling or was it the direct mail?
Both.
Okay.
Well, so the direct mail got most of them. Out of those six deals we just talked about, direct mail was responsible for four of them. And and after that, direct mail is also responsible for most of them. But I've got a couple cold calling. But I mean it took me like 6 months to close my first deal too. But yeah, I did get three quick ones that just didn't work out,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Uh but yeah, direct mail has been my main source of deals for sure. Cold calling works, and I know a lot of people who are just starting out have to cold call because they got to
Hmm.
make money first before they spend money if they don't already
Abs
have money. But I did postcards right away because I like had like the flooring. I was pretty successful with the floors. It just fell through, but I had money to market, so
yeah.
I was able to, fortunately.
That's great. That's really great. So what lists did you, let's go back to that beginning part. Like what list, do you remember what list you started to market to? And do you still market to those same lists or did you change it up?
Yeah, I at first, yeah, I'd use batch leads and PropStream to get my list. I would just go through, I'd pick like my zip codes and areas, and then I'd go through and just do the basic filters, like absentee owner, at least like 30% equity and all that good stuff. So basically essentially just absentee owner lists. So just
Hmm.
ones that don't live in the property. And then you go through and like filter them a little bit. Obviously, I wouldn't do any houses with an ARV above of like 500,000 because those are
Yeah.
hard to wholesale. Just basically all the filters you'd think. It wasn't anything too special. I did pull a couple of like code violation lists, but I had never actually got a deal from any of those. All my deals have just came from absentee owner lists, and so I still use those to this day.
That's great. That's amazing. Good for you. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, in some areas, absentee owner lists are obviously hit pretty often. So I think that also, and I'm sure in your market it's probably pretty heavy, but I think before you said you were doing sales. So do you feel like that was a big component for you to get these deals to lock them up because with other competitors, or did you just happen to hit these people and nobody else was marketing to them?
Um, I think that was definitely a component. I mean, I'm no Grant Cardone or anything like that, but I definitely think it helped me out just having some sales experience prior to this, because a lot of people who get into real estate, like they don't have prior sales experience. So I definitely think it helped me out. I mean, like I said, I'm no like professional car salesman or anything, but I definitely think it might have helped a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I always think that, when I got started, I know I missed dozens of deals. And I think it was just because the people can sense that I wasn't confident in what I was saying. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like your confidence builds that rapport and trust. And the biggest thing for the seller when they're looking to sell or needing to sell, especially to like real estate investor, when money is not the main thing, they need to get out of the situation. It's like their ability to sense whether or not you can actually perform and close is
Mhm.
really important for them. So if they don't get that sense, they might be a little bit held back. So always, being very confident in how you talk to them and showing them that you can perform and close, or get an end buyer to close on the property, I think is
Yeah.
really critical. So that's great. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say also me starting out as like an 18-year-old, it also made it harder to get people to trust me because I say a seller's like 60, 70 years old, you got someone 50
Yeah,
years younger than you pulling up trying to
right.
buy your house, and that just makes it that much harder. But so you kind of yeah, there's a lot of objections you got to get over because
Yeah,
someone as young as me, they're like, can I really be serious? Like, does he have the cash to buy this house?
yeah.
But so it's an obstacle, but if you can get
How
over.
how do you overcome that? Like from your own mindset, because these little things you have to get over them personally. Like I wouldn't have to get over it because I'm older and stuff like that. So you're going through that personally, where other people might not be going through that. So, and I know you have a friend that kind of is doing real estate, so you guys probably chat and talk and help each other out. But talk through that because there's always mindset related items that will be huge blockers for people, and they're very unique to that person. And some people can't get through those. So how did you like push through and commit to keep on going if you felt that way?
Well, I feel like so for someone who's young, I feel like you just got to really actually get the knowledge down. Because if you get the knowledge down and then you're on like a meeting with the seller, I mean, if you actually know what you're talking about, then by the end of like the meeting, the walkthrough, they're confident in you because they're like, okay, well this he's young, but he knows what he's talking about. Like
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
clearly not clueless. He's clearly not here to scam me. He knows what he's talking about.
right.
So I feel like part of it is just even if you're young, if you can get the business down and you can like you just actually know what you're talking about, you actually know what you're doing, and you can make sure that the seller knows that you know what you're doing and that you're legit, I think it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, great point. Absolutely. I think that's huge. So now, we're in 2024. We're already past halfway of the year. Tell us a little bit about what you've done like to date this year, and like what are your goals that you had for this year?
So like deals wise, amount of deals and stuff.
Yeah, whether it's deal wise or anything really, did you have objections or goals that you wanted to hit for this year for yourself?
Yeah, well, I wanted so definitely a goal for myself was to make over six figures this year, and I'm definitely on pace to do that. And I mean, I make like a lot of my goals are actually more fitness goals too. Like
Yeah.
I'm big into that, but real estate goals, yeah, making six figures from wholesale. I was looking to maybe actually buy an investment property, but I did look more into that, and it is something that I probably won't do till I'm like 22 or 23.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, my main goal for this year was just to make six figures, which definitely should come to fruition. So
That's great, man. At 20 years old. That's
yeah.
amazing. That's so cool. Has it opened up like more freedom? Do you have more freedom in what you do versus like working for someone? Is that kind of also one of your goals? Since fitness is a huge thing, being able to, focus on your fitness goals. Does this real estate investing, did that give you the opportunity to focus on it more?
For sure. I mean, time is money. I mean, you don't work a job, you don't on someone else's time. You got all the time in the world. Obviously, you got to do your real estate work, but yeah, it gives you so much freedom of time. I mean, you can wake up, make your own schedule, decide what you're gonna do today. And it really helps with like anything outside of real estate, like fitness, health, because if you're at work, you might not have the option to eat ground beef for lunch. But if
Yeah.
you're at home, you can always you can eat. You can make sure that you're eating healthy. You don't have to
Yeah.
run over to Chick-fil-A to get lunch.
Yeah. Right. Very cool. So, now that we're here, like in the future, what's your goals as far as like with direct to seller marketing? Are you going to continue through the path and make sure that you're doing direct mail? Are you still cold calling as well?
I will still cold call, maybe
Yeah.
not as much as when I first started,
Yeah.
because I've actually got it going and I've got other things going on. But I'll still cold call, and I definitely plan direct mail is definitely something that I'll be doing for probably the rest of my career in real estate for sure.
Excellent. Great, man. The last question I have for you that I ask everyone, do you have any advice or suggestions or feedback on somebody just trying to start getting into real estate investing, or they're just trying to start to get into direct to seller marketing? Any like hiccups or obstacles that you came through, and some advice that you have for people?
Yeah, for people who are just looking to get into real estate, my first piece of advice would be don't wait and do it. Like actually like go take action and do it. Because it's better to screw up when you're 18 than when you're 28,
Yeah.
38, because you got a lot more room for error. And for people who are looking to get into direct mail, I'll also obviously also yeah, just do it, but you got to make sure that you do it right because you are spending money. Make sure your list is good. Check it twice. If you have a if you know someone in real estate, get their opinion on it. Make sure you're going in a good market. Because if you get a bad list, if you send it to a bad list, I mean it doesn't matter. You're not going to get deal. Like if you're sending it to rich neighborhoods, like you're not gonna get deals.
Mhm.
You still gotta send like it's not like some magic thing that you could just send wherever and you're automatically gonna get a
Yeah.
deal. You gotta do it right. If you do it right, you'll get something, you
Yeah,
know.
I love that advice because I think that is one big thing that not many people focus on is their data before they start to market.
Mhm.
And they'll just pull any list and not really pay attention to it and then start marketing.
Yeah.
And whether or not like the names are not correct or they're sending to wrong people or it's like not a very good scrubbed list, then they're marketing, they spent all the money on marketing and it was all for nothing.
Yeah.
So that's a great point and advice that you provided. That's it. I mean, we're at the kind of 30-minute mark. Alex, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for jumping on, and have a great day.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me. It was exciting. Thank you.
Excellent.
All
Cool.
right.